In today's video, we're reviewing the action thriller Hitman, Agent 47, a story of genetically engineered assassins, secret experiments, and a deadly hunt that pushes the limits of survival. Let's dive into the movie and uncover its most intense moments. The man was preparing for the security check, but he just put the suitcase in. The security guard was shocked. There was a sniper rifle and a full set of equipment in the box. At this time, the security guard also issued a deafening alarm. The police immediately stopped him. The man raised his hands very calmly. He showed his waist with a faint double gun. In front of the surprised police, the man just provoked a frown. The police who reacted immediately surrounded the man. They thought they had easily caught the criminal, but what they didn't know was that this would be their last decision. Then the man was locked in the interrogation room, and the captain quickly walked in with his sniper rifle. In front of the other party's interrogation, the man admitted very quickly that he was a killer. He came here to solve a girl. He also asked the captain to release himself immediately. Otherwise, even his family would not let him go. This arrogant tone immediately angered the captain. "You're locked in here with me, and I'm the one with the gun." But in the face of the threat, the man said, "No, Mr. Sanders, you are locked in here." Then the next second, in a blink of an eye, the man not only broke the handcuffs, but also knocked down all the guards in the interrogation room. The foolish captain didn't even have time to react. He was shot by the man. Then the man put on the soldier's clothes and left the interrogation room boldly. And at this time, there were a lot of people in the embassy. The soldiers kept coming in. The man lowered his hat and tried to pass by. But the soldiers in the back still recognized Ryan. "Is everything all right here, sir?" After he changed his clothes again, he walked out of the embassy. He found that the target he was going to kill had already grabbed a police car. The target Mason was about to leave, so the man immediately flashed to the building, set up the sniper rifle, and got ready to complete the task. However, at this time, a subway suddenly blocked the line of sight, but the killer didn't plan to give up. Then, a shot hit the target. But who the hell is this killer? It turned out that 30 years ago, a professor developed a human body enhancement project, and he used genetic technology to make a batch of super agents. They have no names. There's only a string of numbers on the back of the brain. After that, this batch of agents was sent out to carry out various assassinations. Victor was one of the top ones, but the people who kept dying made the professor feel guilty. So he took advantage of the night to sneak away. And the US military, in order to avoid the project's exposure, burned all the data and destroyed the entire experimental base. But the surviving agents were still under the leadership of the killer organization, continuing to act. 30 years later, a technology company saw the value of the experiment, ready to restart the experiment, but they lacked the key data of the professor. The experiment couldn't be promoted smoothly. In order to find the professor, they locked up the professor's daughter, Emily. So they let Daniel approach her on purpose, ready to use Emily to find the professor. And after the killer organization got the news, they immediately sent Victor to eliminate the two. Then Victor used the camera in the car to successfully lock onto the city where Emily was. When Daniel found Emily, Victor also caught up. Next second, Victor pulled a passerby and successfully knocked over Daniel. Then he used a precise shot to break Daniel's pistol. He saw Victor was about to hit Emily with the trigger. In a hurry, Daniel jumped up directly. Fortunately, there was a line of subway light. Daniel and Emily were lucky enough to avoid one shot, but they just got in the car and were about to run away. Next second, it turned out that Victor caught up again. The two knew that Victor would not give up, so they came to the US embassy immediately. Then Victor fired into the sky. They were successfully arrested by the police. Victor, who caught up, was very calm when he saw this scene. Then the first scene happened. Fortunately, Emily just hurt her arm. It's okay. Realizing that the time had come, Daniel began to use unknown information, ready to let Emily recall her father's location through memory. But when Emily was about to find her father's hiding place, Victor suddenly rushed into the room. He shot twice and killed Daniel. Then he knocked out Emily, carrying her away from the hotel. When Emily woke up again, she found that she had been tied up by Victor, but Victor didn't kill her. Instead, he held Emily's hand gently. At that time, Emily's memories came flooding back. It turned out that when she and her father ran away years ago, she accidentally met a boy. That boy was Victor, and the professor didn't take Emily with him. He wanted her to live a free life. At this time, Emily finally learned that she was also a member of the transformation plan. In order to activate the super gene in her body, Victor turned on the switch without saying a word. The super engine behind Emily activated instantly. As the power increased to maximum, the airflow generated by the engine pushed Victor to the rear of the car. At this critical moment, Emily closed her eyes, but every detail of the rope appeared in her mind. In the next second, Emily easily got rid of the shackles. And the reason Victor did this was to activate the super gene in her body, because he knew that Emily had an unpredictable ability that he didn't have. Just before the two left the factory, the killers sent by the technology company arrived. With Emily's super sensing ability, they quickly killed a few killers. But Emily just turned her head and met Ethan, who had come back to life after death. At this critical moment, Victor finally rushed over. The two started fighting fiercely. Victor took out a dagger and was ready to finish Ethan, but he didn't expect that when he just inserted it into the chest, the dagger broke. Ethan, with the help of the technology company, had injected liquid nitrogen and alkali under the skin. Victor was about to die under Ethan's gun when Emily quickly pulled the trigger. She thought she had won. Unexpectedly, in the next second, Ethan was only knocked unconscious on the ground. Victor and Emily immediately escaped. At this time, Emily also speculated from various clues that her father was hiding in Singapore. Singapore, and the headquarters of the technology company was also there. The situation was urgent. The two immediately boarded a flight to Singapore, but they didn't know that they were discovered by the technology company as soon as they left the airport. Emily soon met her father, but before they could talk, the killers arrived. Fortunately, Victor reacted in time. This saved both their lives. Then, the three immediately tried to leave. However, the killers had already set up an ambush on the street. Their car was shot to pieces in seconds. Victor saw this and pushed the car door open directly. Although most of the killers were taken down, the professor who was escaping was unfortunately shot. In order not to be surrounded, Victor had to retreat with Emily first, but the professor was caught by Ethan. Ethan took the professor back to the company and forced him to reveal the super agent data. But the professor knew they were ambitious. Faced with the threat, he refused to speak. Just when Ethan was frustrated, Emily's helicopter stormed the building. Ethan was shot dead in an instant. He had become a person who had awakened the gene of the super agent. In just a few seconds, he destroyed all opposition. When Ethan brought the boss to the safe house, he realized that Victor had been waiting all along. The two started fighting again. Ethan, who had reinforced armor, quickly pressed Victor against the wall. At a critical moment, Victor pulled out a metal rope and tied it around Ethan's neck. Then he pressed it against the electric wire. With a flash of sparks, Ethan was finally killed by Victor. At this time, the boss had brought the professor to the building. He was ready to escape by helicopter. In the next second, Emily and Victor came out of the elevator. Then they started shooting at each other. Under the perfect cooperation of the two, all the bodyguards were eliminated, but the helicopter was empty. Emily was desperate. In order to let his daughter live a free life, the professor pressed the switch of the microbomb. He sacrificed himself to give Emily eternal peace.